Hey there, motorheads. Well, in part 4, we're going to go through this skid and then we're going to start getting the sled back together. So, looking over this skid, the first thing I noticed is, holy cow, is that shock blown out? I mean, it's like blown open. I've never seen that before. I've seen them rusted up. I've seen them with no oil. It must have got water in it too and frozen to blown out that bad. Luckily, I have a used Kimpex Gold replacement shock here that still has gas pressure in it. So I'll be putting that on. Another thing I'm going to change out is the limiter strap. Limiter strap is it's gone. It's gone. And then the slides are about half gone. They're not horrible, but right here is really far gone. I'm going to look into adding some wheels. I usually add in some of the block type wheels right on the outside right here to try to help with that. Other than that, the skid's in pretty good shape. I've already checked and all the bearings are good. It's still got all these bumper pads on it. Overall, this is a pretty easy skid. So we'll get going on that. And then if you're wondering how my schedule works, well, that's part 3 rendering right over there. And I'm already filming part 4. Yay me. Wowza. So I think these Kimpex gas shocks are a great upgrade if you don't already have a gas shock in here. Good luck getting one right now with this whole supply chain disaster. But if you can get your hands on one, they're great. So I got a part skid here, and these are the extra wheels I'm talking about. I don't know if you could see that. They kind of are on a block and they bolt through the rail. They're great because you can pretty much add them anywhere where they don't interfere with something else. So I'll pop these off and we'll put them on the new skid, try to alleviate that wear issue for the slides. I've been messing around with those wheels for a bit, and I thought I'd show you where I put them. It's just a little bit to the rear of the center of the low spot, so my finger's on the center. From the center of this bolt, it's 2 3/16 forward. That's where I always put them. Works pretty good. It doesn't hit this loop up here, and takes care of this bad wear spot that we see on all the time on a lot of Polaris rails. So there's that added wheel, and I think you can see pretty well how it's going to help eliminate that wear spot on there. I did put new bearings in. They were kind of stiff, but when I set it down on the wheels, you can see that it's rolling on the wheels. Got that slide rail up in the air a bit there. So that should help. So let's blast the slides off of here. Sometimes it's really easy, sometimes it's really hard. So the first thing we got to do is get these 2 screws off up here at the front. Most of the time you actually got to unscrew them out. So I just go right in the old hole for the screw there. All right, show you what I got going on for marking the slides. So first off, make sure you got your slide on the right way. So there's a high flange that goes to the outside, and that's obviously laying the correct way for this. And this is the slide that came off of there. So, sorry I got so much stuff on the table at this point, but that's life. I just got a nail that just fits, just a big nail. And put that on there. Use it to square everything up. And then if anything's going to fight you, it's that curved portion at the front. So I just clamp it down just to get that curved portion flattened out. That's it. I mean, the rest of it's pretty obvious. Just marking my cuts at each end, because the slides often come in a bit long. And at the back, where I am right now, don't forget you got to add a taper cut back there, unless you want it to make a sound as your clips go by until it wears in. Might as well just do it now while you're cutting. So when I go to install the slide, I tend to lube everything up with some WD just so it doesn't fight me the whole way down. I think I'm going to start with the WD even at the tail end. It's a little sticky back here. All right, little tap tap. All right, that's it. Just got to put these screws back in and tighten everything up. Well, the last thing I got to take care of is this limit strap that's just about gone. There is a grease zerk over here, so I have to be a little bit careful and put the new strap, you know, to the inside of the zerk so I'm not conflicting with it. I think I'm going to put it on this way so I can see the nuts easier. All right, real good. All that's left is the greasing, and I'll just show you. Grease zerk, grease zerk, grease zerk, grease zerk, grease zerk. More grease zerks back here. Grease them all. They like grease. While I was greasing up the skid, it occurred to me I had one more grease-related item I want to show you. So these are the bearings I use. I hope you can read that. It's an RB Tech SB205-16. I like these better than the Farm Implement Store bearings because they have 2 set screws. I think this inner bore fits a little tighter to the drive shaft and the jack shaft. And a really interesting thing, if you could see it right there, is a tiny pinhole. And I use this rubber tip on a mini grease gun filled with low temp grease, and I try to use that pinhole to fill them up with more grease than they came with. All right, so you can see a few pumps of the grease gun, and I've got grease coming out both sides. I know they're pre-greased, but I just feel like that gives you a little extra protection. Wherever there's grease, it can't get water filled in there. I don't know. That's my thought. Before I drag the sled back up here, I'm going to load up the chain case with bearings and seals. I leave the bearings sealed. I know some people like to peel off the seal on the inside. I just go for it. So I've got this Tecton 1.5" socket, and it just fits in the hole. So I'm sure that it runs on the outer race. And I don't use the press or anything. I just have at it. All right, real good on that one. Snap ring snapped right in. Awesome. Thought I'd show you another thing. That's where the safe mark is. So in theory, if you're just filled up to the safe zone, you shouldn't be leaking much anyways. But I don't know, just thought that was interesting. Seals go with the lip facing the chain case. Lip always faces whatever you're trying to seal in. In this case, chain case oil. All right, so that's that. I'm gonna lube these with a little grease so that I don't forget when I'm actually putting the chain case in the sled. And I think the next step is to actually drag the sled back up onto the table and start putting stuff together. So before you start bolting this thing back together, check all these carriage bolts with Tinnerman nuts on them. I found one missing and one loose. And here's the thing, you're going to want to replace them and replace the Tinnerman nuts. Make sure everything's secure, because this holds the coil on. If you ever have to change your coil, or if you took your steering post off, or if you ever have to change your steering post so you bend it, and you don't want to drop the track, you're going to be depending on those Tinnerman nuts. Same thing back here at the gas tank, had to change one of these too. So with that said, let's talk about order of assembly. The first thing I do is I throw the jack shaft in there, and you can see it's in there. After this, I'm going to lay in the coil, the CDI box, the whole wiring harness, and route the speedo cable way down through there where it's really hard to get to. I want to get all of that out of the way, and then the reason I want that done is because the next thing that goes on is the gas tank, which of course depends on these bolts. And if any of them get loose, I want to be able to deal with it before the track gets in. So that's sort of the first round of assembly that we're going to do on this thing. Then after that, we'll stab the track in, chain case, you know, the clutch side bearings, and get the skid in. Okay, well, as I was getting ready to connect the voltage regulator, I remembered I bought a voltage regulator upgrade kit from Polaris. It's got all the hardware, this little adapter plate, everything you need to update it. Bolts on it right in the same spot it always did. I've had a lot of problems over the years with the old style regulators going bad. These little chiclet regulators, people call them. I've had a lot of them go bad. So we're just going to upgrade to this right now and take care of any future problems. Okay, so I just cut this plug in half. This yellow wire plugs right into the old harness. The other half with the brown wire, I got to clip the end off and put a ring terminal on so that when I mount this to the original location, it'll ground. So the old regulator grounded through the body. This one does not ground through the body. It grounds through the brown wire. So if you're doing this upgrade, don't miss that. Here you go, Jake. Klein Tools. Oh yeah. Yeah, much better than my old crimper. Thanks, Jake. All right, I want to make sure I'm really grounded. That ought to do it. So that's about it for the wiring for now. I just want to point out right here how I have the wire routed. I have it over the radiator hose. There's a little connector here that connects it to the bulkhead, and it's on top of the lower hose so that it can never rub on the jack shaft. I made that mistake before. Won't do that again. Gas tank has got about 3/4 in it, but luckily it's non-oxy because I bought it from my buddy Chad, who only uses non-oxy. So there is a specific channel under the tank that you run your wires in. You'll be able to tell because they'll be loose and free in there. That's the gas tank. Well, we're going to put the chain case in next. Not much to talk about. You just do it. So back to those shims. I'm kind of blindly trusting that some previous owner did their homework right on the alignment on these shafts. I don't know. It's a different case, but usually it's not a machining issue on the cases. The machining's all in one operation. It tends to be pretty flat, pretty true. I don't know. We'll give it a try. I don't think it'll do any harm. Everything's pretty forgiving on the other side as far as the type of bearings that we use and those flanges. It'll be fine. All right, I'm going to split the video off here and call this the end of part 4. If I keep going, it's going to get pretty long. So make sure, if you're enjoying this, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell because we're going to pick up on part 5, putting the track in, and we'll just keep going from there. Thanks for watching.